Welcome to Bed Crime Stories podcast. I'm your host, T, and if true crime is your jam, and like me, you enjoy delving into unsolved cases, trying to figure out who done it, please consider subscribing. And do me a favor, please hit that like button right now before we get started. Good evening, my true crime friends. I have a confession to make. I've gone through 3 different views of BK, as in Benny Keyz, as I've listened to his recorded calls several times now. At first, when I initially heard the call and listened to his explanation for dropping his disguise as an undercover agent working on behalf of Summer Wells, the explanation where he said he just could not go on with this with Candace anymore because she lies to him, I thought, what a convenient excuse for dropping your cover and not looking like a bad guy. For A, cozying up to Summer's creepy parents, and B, for being a bit of a snitch, as in pretending to be cool with the Wells, and then turning out to be sort of a prison snitch. P.S. I've got nothing against prison snitches. I've never been in the Huskow, and I don't intend to ever go there. Then I moved from that to my second take on BK, which was that BK was only dropping the mask now because he was afraid that he would be charged for putting the cameras up at the Wells property to, in essence, maybe spy on them, something that could possibly result in legal issues when and if Don and Candace are charged for a crime and go to trial. Today, I have my third view of Benny, and that is as a highly intelligent guy who perhaps has put on this crusty persona of Blood Money Keyz to become popular on YouTube after listening over and over to BK trying to convince the Wells family media manager. It's hard to say that with a straight face, by the way. Tim Mullens, a.k.a. the Sandman, that he must turn the data from Don's iPhone over to the authorities. And listening to some of the things Benny said that he witnessed while hanging out with Don and Candace at the Wells property, I see BK, at least today, as a fierce, driven warrior fighting on Summer's behalf for answers and justice. I really do. I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm saying that, but that's what I see and feel in listening at least to the recorded call with Tim Mullens. Maybe time will prove me wrong, but for today, I'm saying well done, BK. I only wish you could have coaxed answers out of Candace with your wily ways. So what else did I find in these calls? Well, a lot, which I'll get into. But before that, let me ask you if you caught Candace's 2-minute YouTube video last night. Her screen was black, apparently from technical issues, but she said her usual words of, "Hope everyone is doing good tonight. It's a pretty night out tonight, ain't it? The birds and squirrels are all talking tonight, so it's real pretty." Then she left, saying she'd be back later after she fixed the technical problem, but she never returned. This seems to be the extent of Candace's discussions when she does a video by herself on her channel. Anywho, let's get back to BK and his pirate's chest of recorded calls. Now, let me say that one word again, allegedly. While I'm trying to explain what BK and Tim Mullens say in their phone call, let me just remind you and me that everything they talk about, well, a lot of it anyway, has to be with the word allegedly before it. We're not reading court transcripts or seeing police reports. We're listening to a YouTuber talking to a man who basically appointed himself the Wells media manager. So let's just keep saying to ourselves, allegedly, allegedly, allegedly. The call I listened to over and over today was between Benny and Tim Mullens, who I've already said is also known as the Sandman. BK talks about H a little during this call, that he doesn't think H is lying, but that something is definitely going on with H because, according to his father, Andy Hiltz, H is currently in foster care. It sounds like the authorities still have H's phone, which we've kind of known for a long time now, so that's not new information. And BK said that H was being sequestered. So are they protecting him from further pressure from Candace and Candace to keep his mouth shut and stick to the script? One has to wonder. BK also talked about H trying hard in his interview with Chris McDonough of The Interview Room to implicate Jody Sue's former significant other, whose name is Andy Bernard. But BK says that Andy Bernard was seen on cameras at his workplace at the time of Summer's disappearance, so he could not have been the one to text Candace with "it's done," at least according to BK. BK also brought up Jackie Dobbs, another man whose name has been brought up in the case many times. Dobbs apparently bought some land near Jody Sue's and Andy Bernard's land, and there was a fight over there, allegedly, on the day Summer disappeared. Candace recently tried to throw some more suspicion on Dobbs while she was on Ernie Shell's YouTube channel. And Dobbs may be odd, and he may have done odd things, but that doesn't mean that he had anything to do with Summer's disappearance. So in the call between BK and the Sandman said that he found dealing with Don and Candace as being around the most dysfunctional mess he's ever been in. BK responded by saying this: "We've been forced to normalize barbarians," end quote. I think that's really well put. To explain this statement, BK said that before Candace was scheduled to get her teeth pulled out, Don allegedly punched her in the face, with BK as a witness. Don also allegedly threw a heater at Candace and pushed her down. So we knew that Candace was a victim of DV, but Benny's visceral description makes one feel as if one has a front row seat to the chaos and violence at Chateau Wells. It's hard to hear. Benny seems pretty convinced that Don and Candace are responsible for Summer's disappearance, from what I can tell in this phone call. He also said that he's seen moments where Don seemed to be really suffering, as in either from grief or guilt, or a combination of the two. BK also said this, and I'm not sure if this was his opinion or the opinion of law enforcement. It was, "They did it, there's just no proof." Tim Mullens reveals that he knew Candace and Don were likely lying to him, and Candace probably still lying to him and Don, but he believed and still believes that his role as their media manager meant that he has to remain neutral. He said, "None of it is his business." Mullins went on to tell Benny that Don and Candace don't have to tell the truth to anyone. Mullins makes it sound like he's almost acting as a defense attorney, protecting the Wells' right not to tell the truth. Mullins also said that he sees his role as being to protect the Wells, who he sees as very naive, from all the attention of the media and the YouTubers, and to help them live as normal a life as possible during all of this. Mullins repeated, "Field and block, field and block." He basically said that he's just going to let the American justice system do its job down the line. When BK asked Tim if he had to pick either Don or Candace as having done something to Summer, Tim replied that he hasn't got a clue. He stated that he hasn't seen anything to sway him one way or another. He also went on to explain that all along he's been basically buying into an abduction theory, that someone grabbed Summer and took her into the woods. And he said he's sticking to that theory. I think that Tim is sticking to this because it justifies his own behavior in working on the Wells' behalf and in not getting that data he allegedly downloaded from Don's phone over to law enforcement. From what I heard in this call, Tim 100% doesn't think he has any responsibility to turn Don's phone or the data over to the police. Despite BK trying his hardest to point out that by withholding this data, and even by downloading the data, Tim is possibly going to land himself in trouble with the law. Tim likened his holding on to Don's phone data as when somebody asks you to hold their purse, as in you have a responsibility to take care of the item you have been entrusted with. To that I say poppycock. That's the nicest word I could find to express my feelings about this. Personally, I think Tim Mullens needs to get his priorities straight and realize that in acting as a trusted friend who won't share Don's phone or phone data with anyone, including the authorities, he, Tim, is basically withholding potential evidence that might help solve the mystery of what happened to Summer, or shed more light on who Don Wells really is. I'd like to ask Mr. Mullins, what do you think you owe Summer? Nothing? Does your loyalty to Don Wells, a guy who's been in and out of prison his whole life, supersede a missing child's right to be found and given justice? I also think it's weird that Tim can hear about Don punching Candace in the face and still call Don his good friend. Hearing about Candace getting slammed by her husband makes it clear to me why Candace said on a recent panel with Ernie Shell that if she had to pick between Don and her kids, she'd hands down pick her children. Yeah, Candace. I suppose taking the kids that you allegedly told Don's former drywall colleague, Dudley, you don't even like, is preferable to being with a man who has no problem pounding his fist into your face. That makes sense. BK's recorded calls are also rounding out the portrait I have of Candace Bly. Benny is saying that Candace's love of the bottle is greater than her love of the kids. He said she's supposed to be in rehab so that she can get her kids back, and she's been telling him that she's in some sort of rehab that she can do from home. Clearly that's not true, and even if it was, on nearly every live chat and panel she's shown up on, she appears to be intoxicated. BK also described how Candace seemed to enjoy and relish the abuse Benny was inflicting on Ernie Shell in an attempt to mentally break him. BK said that Candace gets off on watching people like Ernie go off the deep end and run around paranoid and seemingly drugged out on a highway. BK also said that Candace allegedly said that she saw Ernie Shell down the Wells driveway, dropping off those beep. I can't say that word. I just can't say it. I hope you know what I'm talking about. It's an object shaped like a man's genitalia. Does that help? BK made it seem like maybe this was a freakish prank by Candace herself, something that speaks to her mind. BK said there's definitely something wrong with her mind. BK also said the police allegedly have told Candace that they know that she left the Wells property 2 times on the afternoon of June 15th. It sounded like BK was implying that Candace may have left the first time that afternoon, / let's say early evening, to transfer Summer to someone else, likely Don. And then she left the property a second time in her supposed search for Summer. Apparently the police know this from Candace's phone, allegedly. During the recorded call with the Sandman, BK also brought up how Candace's interview with Ansley Daniel, the interview in which Candace said that she took a nap right after getting home from the trip to Kingsport on June 15th, drastically changes the timeline. And we do know this, but he kind of explained it pretty well. He also brings up when Candace made that what-if statement, as in, what if I'd walked her out there? We've all been trying to decipher this statement, where exactly was out there. BK was thinking it meant, what if Candace had walked Summer from Candace's trailer over to the house? He pointed out that by saying this, if indeed Candace meant walking Summer from Candace's trailer back over to the house, it shows that she was lying when she told Chris McDonough that she walked Summer home from Candace's trailer right before Summer vanished. BK wants to know, how long did Candace nap? Was it just 2 minutes? Those 2 minutes in which Candace said Summer disappeared? Or was it like 45 minutes or longer? That time really stretches out the timeline. So it's pretty imperative to find out how long that nap was. BK then mentioned that H said that Candace told him that she and Candace, and of course Summer, stopped at a gas station and a Dollar General store on the way home to 110 Ben Hill Road after dropping H off at his house. Apparently there's only one gas station, or of the type of gas station that he mentioned, and one Dollar General store on the way back around the mountain to Beach Creek to 110 Ben Hill Road. Note that Candace did not mention these 2 stops to Chris McDonough in her interview with him. BK points out that when Candace was heading home from H's house, and at these 2 places, the gas station and the dollar store, she would have been about 15 to 20 minutes away from where Don was working, allegedly. BK indicated that he and his friend Penny, and she's the one who came up with this estimate of time, they think it's possible that Candace could have met up with Don at this time for a transfer, as in that transfer of Summer, and that Don could have then driven somewhere, maybe 30 minutes away, and this is hard to hear, and buried the child, and then made it back to 110 Ben Hill Road to begin the charade of saying that Summer mysteriously disappeared off the property. BK also talked about there being a lady who worked at the hippie house, and she came out early on in the case and said that they had security footage, video footage of Candace being with Summer inside the hippie house, despite the fact that anyone under 18 cannot go in there. Benny was saying that it's unclear if any footage really exists of Summer from June 15th, other than that TikTok video that supposedly was taken on June 15th. He also said that without Allie and H saying that they saw Summer on June 15th, it looks like there's really no evidence in terms of video proving that Summer was with Candace and with Candace that day. So that's my next batch of information on BK's recorded call with Tim Mullens. Now, let me give you a brief summary of what Candace had to say when she showed up on Ernie Shell's YouTube channel. Candace, still pushing her narrative that Summer was abducted, brought up Jackie Dobbs again, saying that he was in the vicinity of 110 Ben Hill Road on the day Summer disappeared. She also said, as I told you earlier, that Dobbs was allegedly camping somewhere nearby for 2 to 3 nights right around that period. And we do know that Dobbs was over at Jody Sue and Andy Bernard's property, which is just across the street from the Wells. So if you go down the Wells rocky driveway, just across the street is another driveway that leads straight up to where Jody Sue used to reside with her then significant other, Andy Bernard, whom she refers to sometimes as Voldemort. She also has accused him of DV. Dobbs apparently got into a heated exchange with Jody Sue and Bernard over the property lines. Dobbs purchased some land in an area that Candace described as a cliff section that's maybe near Bernard's land. Dobbs is someone people, including Candace, have tried to throw suspicion on all along. He visited the Rogersville area in the past and then purchased that property near Andy Bernard's property, from what I understand. Candace told Ernie that when Dobbs left Rogersville to return to his home in Georgia, once he got there, he shaved off all his hair, the hair on his head and the hair on his face. I'm not sure if all of that's true. And again, I think Candace likes to try to point the finger anywhere she can other than at herself and send YouTubers and others chasing red herrings. Just my opinion. She also talked about Fred Hill. Hill lives in the holler near the Wells. Candace told Ernie and company that she's afraid of Fred Hill, and she called him a dangerous man and said it's because he's been known to, allegedly I'm going to say, but I think he really did do this, shoot people and get away with it. She alleged that Hill used to be a drug dealer, but she didn't want to talk about it very much because she said she's afraid. Ernie and his friends told Candace she has nothing to fear, and Ernie let it be known that he has a militia of 700 people who he can call in a second, and they'll come to Candace's aid. To me, this sounds like the old Southern militias that ran places like Louisiana and Louisiana's German coast back during the slave era. Hearing the word militia in Ernie's very heavy Southern accent, knowing the connotations the word militia has with that era, you know, the militias are the ones who used to go out and hunt down runaway slaves. Well, that made my spine shiver. Scary stuff. Then Ernie's female friend on the panel said something about how the truth will always protect you. Candace then said that she always knew where her kids were. Always. Well, now that would be a lie if we are to believe Allie and H, who said that Candace often lost track of her kids and would call them in a panic saying she didn't know where they were. When someone on the panel asked Candace if Summer was taken from the basement, Candace said this: "I can't tell you the truth about that because I don't know." End quote. That's a very interesting statement, and I would say part of that statement is true. And that would be the part where she says, "I can't tell you the truth about that." Unreal slippage of the tongue. I know some people don't like to put too much emphasis on what Candace says, but I feel that she definitely leaks truth at times. Candace also told Ernie and his panel that she won't lie to them or anyone else because it's not in her metabolism. She really did say that. I think I know what she's trying to say, but I don't want to put words in her mouth. You get the idea. Candace also mentioned the tree service people who were on the property trimming the trees. Once again, she's finding a third party to cast suspicion toward. I'm going to leave it there for today. There are definitely more juicy tidbits in Benny's calls, but I want to make sure I'm getting the information right and organizing it into some coherent manner before I throw it out there. I hope you have a wonderful evening or morning wherever you are. Let's keep looking for answers for Summer, this baby girl that we've all taken into our hearts. And let's pray that we get answers so that we can once and for all know what really happened. And let me say a very special thank you to all my subscribers. I am beyond grateful that you sign up to hear my videos. It is absolutely thrilling to hit the 1,000 mark. Thank you so much. Now, please, for those of you who haven't yet done it, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. Until the next time on Bed Crime Stories.